Om Bhuvasva Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. So we started Aparoksha Anubhuti in the last session, and we missed. I missed a session in the middle. Apologies for that. But so Aparoksha Anubhuti is the word as it is understood. Paroksh is that which can be seen by the eyes. Aksh is eyes. So paroksha is that which cannot be seen by the eyes. And aparoksha is therefore that which can be seen directly. So direct perception, direct realization is the name or the way this book is to be understood. The name is given as self-realization, direct perception. Okay, so these are various ways in which you can say it is a paroksh anubhuti, right? And here we saw that after starting with Mangla Charan, which is essentially paying a tribute to the Lord and qualifying the ability of the Lord to actually teach us rather than Adi Shankara himself teaching us. And he bows down to him and then offers what he has to offer in a book, in a granth. That is as per the tradition of our philosophy, tradition of our people who have been writing Granth. They'll always start by offering it to the Lord, and who will lead them into being able to offer what they are talking about. And then he goes on to define what is the objective, and then how what should be the readiness of a person who is going to be doing this particular activity. Okay? So he defines sadhan chatushyam. Okay, four sadhan. Chatushya is four sadhan, four sadhans. Okay. So the sadhan of vivek, vairagya, and then the third one gets split into what is called as shat sampatti, six. Sampatti is treasure. Okay. So that six treasures in the nature of sham, dam, upriti, titiksha, shraddha, samadhan. And we read those. What does each one mean? And then we moved on to the fourth sadhan, which is mumukshta. And that is where we stopped. After a person has had a certain practice in these sadhan, that is when he is ready to these different paths, these different methods, then he is ready to proceed to understand this particular granth. Okay, so that is what is being said. However, we are not able to wait for that, and we will try and understand that as much. But as we understand that these things happen, reinforcing each other. So you start by understanding the gyan, then you have a change in behavior. That change in behavior reinforces your ability to get the gyan, and that process is what we use to proceed in our own on our own path of realization. Okay. So it could have been done sequentially, as possibly it would have been done in the past, but now we do it in a cyclical fashion. Okay. So that is the approach which we take. Now, any questions on this so far?
There is one question.
Loudly,
That
please.
those that the six are clubbed into one. That shuts sampati. So why are those six clubbed into one and the others are separate?
as you proceed, you will realize that Vivek, Vairagya, Mumukshata by themselves can actually lead you to the ultimate realization. Okay, and we'll understand that as we read Gita also. In various places, as we have already seen, that sannyas, okay, without doing any karma, which is basically vairagya, is already a path, a method which has been prescribed. Vivek is a separate method discriminating between what is Atma and non Atma, which is Vivek. Okay, that itself becomes a very important tool by itself to be able to realize the ultimate. In fact, Sankhya Yoga will say just this much is enough to realize the ultimate. Mumukshta is enough. Okay, as we will go through bhakti also. Okay. However, these six are to be done. After these six are to combine together in our vyavharik world, in our practical world, then only we can move forward even in the other areas. Okay. So that is why they combined, and it is not kept as nine. Okay. Any other question? The importance of Vivek Vairagya is huge in every granth, and Mumukshta, of course. And they'll all talk about Shamdam, Uprati Titiksha in various ways. Shraddha, Samadhan. So this is almost as if the cornerstone to all the Upanishads and all the treatises which are associated with the Vedas. And this is just said in a very, very brief fashion. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So we'll go to shloka number 10, right? Somebody can read that aloud in English, slowly and loudly. Whoever has a loud voice and can read it slowly, I'll be happy to.
Only that person who is in possession of the said qualifications as means to knowledge should constantly reflect with a view to attaining knowledge, desiring his own good.
Yeah, please read the.
Should constantly reflect. After a person has attained the tranquility of the mind through sadhanas, he should strive hard to maintain the same by constantly reflecting on the evanescent nature of this world and withal dwelling on the highest truth till he becomes one with it. Good, the highest good, liberation from the bondage of ignorance.
So let's read this in Hindi as well. उपर्युक्त साधनों से युक्त. उपर्युक्त मीन्स जो हमने अभी 9 साधन देखे हैं उनसे युक्त, अपने शुभ की इच्छा वाले. अपनी शुभ, शुभ इज बेसिकली मोक्ष. शुभ क्या है, कल्याण क्या है, मोक्ष ही है, उसके सिवा और कोई चीज नहीं है. द रेस्ट ऑफ द स्टफ इज ऑल इन द मिडल. ओके, एनेबलर्स. अपने मोक्ष की इच्छा वाले, person who is desirous of liberation, सच पुरुष, पुरुष को यह ज्ञान प्राप्ति के लिए विचार करना चाहिए. ज्ञान प्राप्ति के लिए मतलब जो ज्ञान है जिससे मोक्ष होता है, उस ज्ञान की प्राप्ति के लिए विचार करना चाहिए. विचार is here being taken as reflection. It could be meditation, it could be thinking, deep thinking. विचार करना चाहिए किस चीज पे, जो इन्होंने यहाँ पर इंग्लिश में लिखा है, on the evanescent nature, which is the nature which is transient, which is changing, and constantly dwelling in that ultimate truth. Okay, so इस प्रकार का विचार करना चाहिए. नाउ किस चीज पे विचार करना चाहिए वो अब हम यहाँ पर समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. ठीक है. The practice of meditating, reflecting is the only practice which can take you to Aparoksha Anubhuti. So that is also being said here indirectly. Because by doing things which are in the manifested space, you cannot realize the unmanifested. Now, I'm using the manifested space in the sense of this universe, existential stuff, and unmanifested in the sense of that which is behind this, which is the basis for all this. So, I'm qualifying what I'm saying because often enough, that which is existing is the only thing which exists, and this is ephemeral. Am I right? So that is how we treat it in our understanding now. But
Sorry, I should have asked it. I'm a little confused. So, Paroksh is what is present in front of us.
Aksha is eyes, Paroksh is which is beyond the eyes, Aparoksh is that which is going to be visible or giving you direct perception also.
Isn't it the other way?
No.
That's what I also. Paroksh, wo Paroksh hai, matlab is present. So, Aparoksh, which can't be seen. So, you are experiencing something which can't be seen. That's what I figured as Aparoksh.
No, it is the other way around.
Other way.
Yeah. Okay. Aksha is to see, Paroksh is that which is par, beyond, visibility. Okay, Paroksh. Okay. And Aparoksh is that.
70, so.
Anyway, you can
Okay.
again check it out. We can have a discussion. That's how it is. Okay.
No, what you're saying is pratyaksh. In front of the eyes is pratyaksh. Paroksh is beyond the eyes.
Absolutely right.
Having said Paroksh, then you add Aparoksh, then that too can be.
So it is a direct
Double negative, yeah.
double negative. It is a double negative.
It is something which can be seen.
It is a direct perception, but beyond the eyes.
But beyond the eyes, that's why double negative.
Okay. So it's a perception, and therefore it can only be understood by the mind. Mind has the ability to grasp that which is brought to it through the senses, and it has also the ability to focus on that which is beyond the senses, and therefore mind becomes central, and we see that control, jitendriya, control over mind and senses becomes an important piece, because ability to direct that mind to that which is the ultimate, that focus, that ekagrata, is the one which needs to be had. And here also it is being referred to in the same manner. Okay. उपर्युक्त साधनों से युक्त अपनी शुभ की इच्छा वाले पुरुष को ही ज्ञान प्राप्ति के लिए विचार करना चाहिए. And here he says, after a person has attained the tranquility of mind, which is that ability of the mind not to wander away, been given above, constantly reflecting with that mind, which is constant, which has now become ekagra. Okay? उसको विचार करना चाहिए इस चीज के बारे में, इस तत्व के बारे में जो हम बात करेंगे. ठीक है. क्योंकि, so can you read this in English now? Somebody else or yourself, whichever one. I have no issue. Please read. Please.
11th. 11th one. Knowledge is not brought about by any other means than
Vichara.
vichar. Just as an object is nowhere perceived without the help of light, by any other means, by karma, upasana, and the like. It is ignorance or avidya which has withheld the light of knowledge from us. To get at knowledge, therefore, we have to remove this avidya. But so long as we are engaged in karma or upasana, we remain under its sway. It is only when we make an inquiry into the real nature of this avidya that it gradually withdraws and at last vanishes. Then alone knowledge shines.
Okay. So you want to read that again? Hmm? Somebody can read that again, or let me read it. Knowledge is not brought about by any other means whatsoever other than vichar. Okay. Just as an object is nowhere perceived, seen without the help of light. क्योंकि जिस प्रकार प्रकाश के बिना कभी पदार्थ का भान नहीं होता, पदार्थ मतलब कोई भी चीज दिखती नहीं है, उसी प्रकार बिना विचार के और किसी साधन से ज्ञान नहीं हो सकता. So we have spent some time understanding Karma Yoga and how Karma Yoga is to be done, and the use of Karma Yoga in purifying ourselves. What is that purification of our own selves? It is basically bringing ekagrata to our mind. It is purifying our mind so that it becomes ekagra, it becomes reflective, it possesses the ability to be tranquil, which is what the purpose of Karma Yoga was, what we did. And what we do also in Bhakti Yoga now will also be helping us to get tranquility, to get ekagrata. We also read something about dhyan in chapter 5, right? That also is to bring the mind to focus. So here he says, if all these things are only to help you make your mind focused, make it ekagra, then what is it that you have to do to obtain that jnana? Because nowhere are they saying that by directly performing actions in that specific way, the karma yoga way, you can get, first you do karma yoga, purify yourself, then you will get into sannyas yoga, you will have sarv karma sannyas, then you will get into gyan nishtha, which is stability in gyan, and then you will have the final liberation. Right? Now, here it is very categorically said that only by vichar, only by reflection in a mind which is stable, that you can realize that ultimate, get that gyan.
These four sadhanas which we have talked about, are they a part of current yoga or do we relate them to current?
So when you have vivek, when you have vairagya, however, the six things, sham, dam, etc., are part of the karam yoga. The other three are part of what? Your own inner self. The processes which go within your mind to discriminate between what is true and what is not true. Your detachment as a word, I'm saying, but your ability to renounce vairagya. That which is happening externally. Inside, you are withdrawn from that which is happening externally. So you will be called that you are doing it within your own self. You don't have to just isolate yourself in terms of going and sitting in some Himalayan cave, but staying here itself, you can have your senses withdraw themselves from the objects which are attracting them. And that itself is the starting point for Vairagya. That is Vairagya. Mumukshta. Okay, again, it's a sense, a feeling, a thought process of something to do with the inner self. I want to, I need to, I am. This is my only opportunity to realize that ultimate. I've got this chance. Let me make the best use of it. Okay, so that if I am not able to do it in this life, at least I am carrying forward whatever I have accumulated in this life, which is pure and good, which is going to help me in future life. At least I am carrying that forward. So these three become very important. That's why the other six are more in the nature of karma yoga, though there is shraddha and samadhan as well. Okay, which is more in the nature of bhakti. Okay.
More reflection of contemplation within oneself and having those feelings or realization of self and Bhagwan.
Constant contemplation on that is what has to be done. Now we'll understand some of it, okay? We'll understand that also, okay? On what is that and how we'll understand that, right? So we go to 12. Okay. So now the question which has to be understood and on which you have to meditate, contemplate, reflect is who am I? मैं कौन हूं? यह जगत किस प्रकार उत्पन्न हुआ? इसका कर्ता कौन है? कर्ता कौन है? तथा इसका उपादान कारण क्या है? वह विचार इस प्रकार का होता है. This is what you have to contemplate, reflect upon. In English, I'll read this out. Who am I? How is this world created? Who is its creator? Of what material is this world made of? This is the way of that vichar, inquiry, also as a alternative word. Who am I? Okay. We know that we are, but we do not know what our real nature is. In the waking state, we think that we are the body, the physical being, and consequently feel ourselves as strong or weak, young or old in our waking state. At another time, in the dream state, regardless of the physical existence, we remain only in a mental state. So, in the first one, we are understanding our physical state. I am strong, I am weak. Okay, I am young, I am old. But in the dream state, I do not see myself as strong, weak. I am only the mental state which I am in that mental state which is making, where we are merely thinking beings. We are merely thinking beings and feel only the misery or happiness that our thoughts create for us. So we are in the dream state. And then third, again in deep sleep, we enter into a state where we cannot find the least trace of any such attribute whereby we can either assert or deny our existence. We pass through these states almost daily, and yet do not know which of them conforms to our real nature. So, that which is our real nature is neither this waking state nor that dream state, nor is that deep sleep state. जागृत अवस्था, स्वप्न अवस्था और सुषुप्ति, राइट, सुषुप्त, डीप स्लीप, ये तीनों अवस्थाओं में या तो मैं इनमें से कौन हूं ये समझ में आ जाए, या मैं क्या हूं समझने के लिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. So the question who am I is always with us as an unsolved riddle. It is therefore necessary to investigate into it. Okay?
Meaning of the word upadana.
Upadan will come to. अभी करेंगे उपादान. Upadan is basically giving birth. Upadan Karan is that reason which is giving birth. Okay. So the next is, this is the way of that vichara. It is said in the preceding shloka that knowledge is attainable by no other means but by vichara, or an inquiry into the truth. Herein is inculcated in detail the method of such an inquiry. Okay? So, Aparoksha Anubhuti is helping us to work on that inquiry, which will help us to understand clearly as to who am I. Right? So, that's the first part. Now, we reach shloka number 13, right? So, somebody wants to read that in English? Please.
I'm neither the body, a combination of the five elements of matter, nor am I an aggregate of the senses. I'm something different from these. This is the way of the vichar. Now, I'm neither the body. This body has its origin in insentient manner, and as such, it is devoid of consciousness. If I be the body, I should be unconscious, and by no means am I so. Therefore, I cannot be the body.
So, he has created a distinction between that consciousness and the body, which is made out of inert matter. Okay? Right? Simply speaking. Right? Okay. Now, let's read this in Hindi. I think this is over here. मैं भूतों का संगात रूप देह नहीं हूं. So first thing is, he is not telling you who you are. He is telling you who you are not. And the first statement, therefore, is, I am telling you I am not this body. मैं भूतों का संघात रूप नहीं हूं. That which is that ultimate, that who I am, whatever that is, I am not this body. Okay, and this is a very, very powerful statement because it helps us to distinguish ourselves from that which we are, that who am I. We'll always have an answer. I am that I am. Okay? And that I am is not this body. Right? And this is something which, as soon as you start working on it, it helps you to start understanding how your mind gets carried away to thinking that I am this body. When actually, and this is also the Shloka number 12 in chapter 2, that you were here before, you will be there after, you are not this body, this is all transient. All this he starts talking of. Krishna Bhagwan starts talking about in shloka number 2, in which he's opened his mouth. Okay, so he started it so early. First shloka is about, when he starts talking, is about that you are caught in delusion, that you think that you're going to kill this Dronacharya, this Bhishma, whom you revere so much. Am I right? That's the first shloka in which he is opening his mouth. And second one, he starts talking about this. You are not this body.
This is amazing.
Right?
Correct. Share what's going
Yeah.
through my mind. Because actually we never say I am this body. We always say this is my body.
Correct.
We always differentiate ourselves. And other I was just thinking in today's world, I can have a prosthetic, I can have a prosthetic leg, I can get a knee or a replacement, I can get a heart transplant, I can get a kidney transplant. So I cannot be this body anymore.
Correct. Correct. But I treat this body as if I am the body. Yes.
Um,
And in logic, by logic, we can understand that I am not the body. So, who am I is a question which we need to answer. This is only a negation that I am not this body.
What
You know,
is
that parents who comes into an apartment with this complex, but we are not the apartment.
Yeah.
We go to the
This
next
is
apartment.
yeah. This is
So, other complex.
this is my apartment, but I am not the
I am
apartment.
not the apartment.
Right? Do whatever to make the apartment, we do whatever.
And then your body is made of elements which can be from outside, from birth. How can I be the human?
और ना ही इंद्रिय समूह ही हूँ. Indriya Samuh is all these senses. Neither am I a combination or a collection of these senses. ये मेरी आँख है, मैं आँख नहीं हूँ. Neither am I a collection of all these five senses. Okay?
This is getting repeated again and again, and this is a real learning.
This is the core to the Gyan which we carry.
Absolutely. I mean, this is amazing.
बल्कि इनसे भिन्न ही कोई हूँ. And I am something different, somebody different from this body, which is and the senses. Okay. वह विचार इस प्रकार का होता है. Okay. So what is this vichar? Is the vichar that I am not this body. If I can actually separate this, then I have been able to move a long distance in getting, that is Gyan. The realization that I am not this body itself is Gyan. Okay, that is the vichar. Any question? Should we go to the next one?
Is vichar questioning? Is it when we say inquiry is the word?
Yeah, the word in English is inquiry.
Now, inquiry is therefore challenging and established thought process.
All that.
All of that.
All of that. It is inquiry in the sense I am seeking. It is a thought, it is a meditation which I am wondering about as to what I am. Therefore, if I am not this body. If I am therefore in my meditation seeing certain actions which are coming back to me, then I have to look at those actions and say to myself, was I seeing myself as the body? And therefore I performed those actions? Or did I see myself not the body and then the actions got performed? Actions got performed by the body. I am not the body. I have no relationship to the actions. Are you seeing the difference? So that realization of me being different leads to that question, to that answer, to that understanding of doership. Who is doing that, performing that action? The body is. Am I performing that action? Who is that I? Not the body. So we start inquiring about it, or reflecting on it, or meditating upon it, figuring it out. Vichar. We use these terms, right, in Gita, but we are not able to figure out. But here it is upfront being said that this is the nature of the vichar.
See, this good thing, this is getting repeated again. First, I'm not pointing. We got that. Second is, I'm also not the senses. Right? So, the Bhagwan Krishna is again saying in chapter 2 that, for example, Atma. You cannot burn it, you cannot wet it, you cannot dry it, you cannot cut it. So, it is beyond. And we again ourselves said in these sessions, we cannot, our senses cannot perceive.
Perceive.
So the whole thing is beyond the senses.
Correct. So that is why it's Paroksha. Okay.
No, I checked, you are right.
Okay. We go to 14, right? Can you read this in English, please? Somebody? Please.
Everything is produced by ignorance and dissolves in the wake of knowledge. The various thoughts, which is modification of Antakaran, must be the creator. Such is the vichar.
Okay. So we'll read that further. Let me just come here. So the second question is, यह जगत किस प्रकार उत्पन्न हुआ? How did this world come into existence? So it is said very clearly, everything is produced by ignorance. So it came into existence only due to ignorance.
So which came first, ignorance or?
Or or this existence.
How did something get produced if there was nothing? And if it did get produced,
So-
then ignorance was already there.
So you're right. So we'll figure that out. What you're saying is absolutely right.
Yeah, so ignorance came first. Because it was already there.
It was there, then where did it come?
Yeah, I think so. Got away from knowledge.
It cannot be part of now.
Oh, it cannot.
So let us understand that. Let's come back to this discussion. We'll do this discussion, and I think there's something which is explained here also. Let's read it, and we'll understand it, this as well. Okay. And second, the third question was, "Iska karta kaun hai?" Right, which is that who is the creator, or who is the doer of all that which is happening in this world, or what material is this world made of? In English, that is the sentence which is the third question. Okay? The second question is that how did it come into existence, or who is the creator, and how this world came into existence, and the third question is who is its creator. So we understood that this Jagat has come into existence through ignorance. Okay, and who is its creator? Various thoughts, modifications of Antakaran must be the creator. ठीक है? Now let's look at it in Hindi. संपूर्ण प्रपंच अज्ञान जन्य है. Okay, it has come from अज्ञान. संपूर्ण प्रपंच, प्रपंच is जो पांच तत्व होते हैं उससे प्रपंच बनता है. संपूर्ण प्रपंच मीन्स ये प्रकृति, दिस एंटायर एग्जिस्टेंस, मैनिफेस्टेशन. संपूर्ण प्रपंच अज्ञान जन्य है. इट इज बोर्न आउट ऑफ इग्नोरेंस. यह ज्ञान होने पर लीन हो जाता है. जैसे ज्ञान होता है वैसे ही ये लीन हो जाता है. कैसे हो जाता है वो समझेंगे. नाना प्रकार का संकल्प ही इसका करता है. इसका कर्ता कौन है? नाना प्रकार का, वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ संकल्प, thoughts. Thoughts are its doer. So this entire universe, this entire world is being created out of ignorance, and it is moving, it is propelling itself through the thoughts which you have.
Sorry. My mind, everybody's mind interprets things differently. So what I am interpreting is this whole universe is my illusion and is born out of my ignorance. So as I gain knowledge and get rid of ignorance, this whole illusion goes away.
Correct? Exactly. Yeah, so we'll be understanding how, what is that illusion and how that illusion has to be removed. First is, what is that illusion? Then only can you remove it. Right? So we that's why, to understand who am I, the next question is also, how did this world come into existence? Because only if I
Ignorance. I think ignorance did come first to create the illusion.
so this, if it was to say that, well, who am I can be discovered by any other mechanism, then we will talk about that mechanism. But here we are talking about, how did this world come into existence? Because that is the only mechanism by which I can understand who I am. So I have to understand how this world came into existence. If the method by which this world came into existence can be removed, then I can possibly understand who am I. Am I becoming a little obscure by the questions I'm asking? I'll limit the questions then, but okay, so the logic of using these questions themselves is very strong. Because if I don't understand what this world is about, then the absence of this world, I will never be able to go into. Going beyond this world is not possible. Only if I negate, how do I, if I understand this world, only then I can negate it. Right? So that is why we have to understand this world. And we always say that only through this jagat, through this birth, can we actually realize that ultimate. This is the only path, this is the only tool, this is the only instrument. Okay.
Ignorance is the only path to know.
Ignorance is what we have to remove. Okay. Now, to understand where it comes from, how it happens, we'll understand how ignorance and all these things also happen. Okay, but yeah, let's. तो हमने 3 प्रश्नों के उत्तर पा लिए हैं. एक कि मैं कौन हूं, मैं ये देह नहीं हूं. दूसरा, इस ये जगत किस प्रकार से उत्पन्न हुआ, अज्ञान के कारण उत्पन्न हुआ. और तीसरा प्रश्न, इसका कर्ता कौन है, ये हमारी थॉट्स हैं, हमारी डिजायर्स हैं. The thoughts are then culminating through desire into action, into manifestation. Okay, so our thoughts and
Where did those thoughts come from? How did they begin? Who got them?
so it's an interactive process. We'll come to that also. Okay. Now we are trying to understand in the next one, what is the upadan karan? Okay, which is in English being used as, said as, what is the material cause? Of what material is this world made of? Okay, so that's the fourth question. But before we go to the fourth question, let us read in English the expansion of certain words which have been used in shloka number 14. Yeah, please.
Everything is produced by ignorance. In reply to the question in Shlok 12, as to the cause of this world is here, it is here said that ignorance is the cause of everything. Sometimes seeing something coiled up on the road, we mistake it for the snake, and shrink back out of fear. But afterwards, when we discover that it is nothing but a piece of rope, the question arises in the mind as to the cause of the appearance of the snake. On inquiry, we find that the cause of it lies nowhere else than in our ignorance of the true nature of the rope. So also the cause of the phenomenal world that we see before us lies in the ignorance or the maya that covers the reality. Yeah, that's a illusion. Before
Right?
reading it, I thought.
Yeah. Right? So, what is this ignorance? This ignorance is about that rope which is lying there, which we have forgotten about, which we have mistakenly seen to be the snake. And our mind is therefore shrouded, covered by that understanding and believes that it is snake. Okay? So, this world, this entire existence is arising out of our mistake, where by ignorance we have thought, okay, that that which is the ultimate does not exist, and what exists is only this world, this snake.
Yeah, but then that rope is there.
Yeah. So if the rope was not there, so if that ultimate was not there, they would not have any universe. That's the other way to look at it.
If the rope wasn't there, we wouldn't perceive it as snake.
Yeah.
So this
the
universe,
moment we remove the ignorance, we will see the true nature of the rope.
absolutely. If we remove that ignorance about the snake, we will see the true rope.
So we'll see the true universe.
That's the ultimate only thing which is there. The rest has been manifested because of our own ignorance. Whether it's a snake or it is a garland which is lying there or a string of flowers which is lying there, all those are perceptions which are being interpreted by our mind because of our ignorance of that particular snake. Just as we see in the desert water.
Yeah.
Does water exist?
No, it's a mirage.
It does not exist. Just because we have a thought in our mind of thirst, we start seeing water.
But there's a scientific explanation to the why we
Undoubtedly, but we see because of our eyes, because of our thought. No, but that scientifically can be explained, but we see only because of that. Some people of a different height or somebody sitting on the camel may see the mirage, but the person who's walking on the ground will not see the mirage. Okay, because of that scientific experience, okay, explanation. But the fact is that mirage, when it is seen by us, whoever sees it, he is seeing it out of that thought which is in the mind that I'm thirsty.
One could see mirage even if one is not thirsty.
In
Even if one is not thirsty, you would see the
you may not, only when you desire to look at it that way, that you will see it.
But I interpret it differently, like what Rahul is saying, that scientifically there is an explanation why the mirage.
like.
I am interpreting totally differently. I am saying is don't believe your senses.
Yeah,
Don't believe your eyes.
yeah,
Because
exactly. Exactly.
what
So that
you
is
see
also
is-
true.
It's your ignorance.
But these are examples by which we are understanding how ignorance comes. Okay, they are not examples to say that this particular world is a mirage. Okay, it is not a mirage. It's not an illusion in that sense. Okay, but how this ignorance happens is in this particular way. Yeah, sorry.
So this, as a thought, a newborn child comes, has no inputs from humanity around till the child starts growing. And therefore, I would expect, not expect, would it be right to assume that that child, that infant, has no illusion when born, other than the sense of warmth, during gestation, or whatever? But we, in our ignorant shape, form, thoughts, whatever, reinforce more and more of illusion onto the newborn child and bring that child to the state in which we are, full of illusion, full of ignorance, and now seeking a way to go back to the newborn state,
So let's ask the question.
a way out.
Let's ask the question.
It's some kind of a trap.
So let's ask a question. How come you took birth?
It's a chance to get away from the free world.
How come you took birth? Only because of ignorance.
Therefore, is it a form of punishment?
It is your own doing which is leading to your birth.
So it's
There's nobody else who's giving any punishment. Punishment is always external.
when it is self-inflicted
Yeah.
or given by a third party, it is still a punishment.
Yeah. So it is something which is emerging from your own doing, that you are unable to remove that ignorance, and therefore you're taking birth. Let us understand. Let us understand by an example. Okay?
Let's go back and understand how the first birth happened.
So let us understand. We see a entire sequence of things happening in a dream, and we wake up. Okay. What do we understand after we wake up? That it was all a dream. It was not true. So as soon as I remove this ignorance, I wake up from the dream, and everything else which is happening in the dream vanishes. एक बारी ज्ञान हो गया तो ये सब क्या होता है, अंत हो जाता है. यहाँ लिखा है ना, उसका शब्द यूज करना चाहिए. इट इज मच मोर पावरफुल. यह ज्ञान होने पर लीन हो जाता है. इट वैनिशेस. As soon as you wake up from the dream vanishes. All that, who was the doer in the dream, who was having sorrow and pain, who was having happiness and pleasure, all those things become immaterial. They vanish. And therefore, if you know that you are in a dream, then you will not get back to the dream. Only out of ignorance, in that sleepy state, you may get back into a dream again. A different one maybe. Okay, so you are moving from one dream to another without waking up.
By implication, you are in a different illusive state of mind in the dream, which disappears when you wake up.
Yeah.
Right? But when you wake up, you come back to a physical being, body, with its senses and whatever else, in which you're still in it's a different illusion.
Yeah.
A different
It's a dream within a dream.
That's right. So you're still in the dream, and it is this dream which has to disappear.
Yes, yes.
Through this
So
whole
who is
as a means to-
so who is going to make, or who is going to wake you up? How will you wake up?
That is
whoever gave the first
Who
order,
is-
that is conscious. When I'm dreaming, in a dream, I cannot tell myself to wake up.
Yeah, so that's a problem which you have.
That's the problem.
So how do we now wake up from the dream?
Yes.
Okay, so let's read further. You are now into the second part of this. Okay,
Sorry.
I am going to read ahead. Various thoughts. The creator. The only thing that we are directly aware of is our own thoughts. Okay? The world that we see before us is what our thoughts have created for us. Agreed? This is clearly understood when we analyze our experiences in dreams. There, the so called material world is altogether absent, and yet the thoughts alone create a world which is as material as the world now before us. It is therefore held that the whole universe is in the same way but a creation of our thoughts. Just as our thoughts create a dream, our thoughts create this universe in that same dream-like fashion. That's what's being said here, right?
So does it mean that the universe is perceived by everybody in a different way?
Yes, everybody's thoughts are different about this world, and everybody's perception about this world is different. The creation of this, whilst the universe is manifested, but your perception of this world will be dependent on your own thoughts.
So the physical structures everybody sees in the same way. Like say if there are 10 trees, we all see the 10 trees.
Because our logic starts showing that. We share and we understand and we see the logic and we apply it. So 2 plus 2 is 4. That is constant.
But if you think back or are able to recollect any part of the dream which you have gone through, in that dream everything is as real.
It is as real.
It is as real. You are actually doing something. You could be doing it in somebody whom you know.
And you could be experiencing all the feelings.
Yeah, oh yes.
Your thoughts are there. Your emotions are there. So
Dreams
it
are
is
actually
something
the
that doesn't exist in something when you are not conscious in this plane or this form. So therefore, what we are in now,
That's real.
as much of a dream.
Yeah. So we often say that, what I feel is actually the truth in any matter which we discuss or work out. Okay, I feel good about you, so you are good. That is the truth. But that feeling itself is a similar feeling as in a dream, where I could be feeling something and I could be crying. Okay, I could be jumping with joy, and it is as ephemeral as that. So the truth is not in the feeling. The truth is not even in the thought, because the thought is creating this entire dream. Okay?
That is the whole problem because this is beyond senses, so logic cannot get to it.
Only thought can have logic, and only logic through the thought can be applied. Okay, which is what the way is, uh, as understood by people who are following the path of Gyan. Okay, in the path of bhakti, people will say it will all come to me from the Lord Himself. Right?
The worrying thought would therefore be that how many layers of dreams are there?
So we've had various explorations. We'll take it offline. Okay. So yeah. Now we'll have the 15th shloka, and then we have time for maybe the 16th shloka as well. So let's look at the 15th shloka. Who will read this, please? Somebody can read this for me? Yeah.
The material cause of these two, that is ignorance and thought, is the one, without a second, subtle, not apprehended by the senses, and unchanging, sat, existence, just as the earth is the material cause of the pot and the light. This is the way of that which are.
Okay. So now in the fourth, in the fourth question gets answered. Okay. इसका उपादान कारण क्या है? किसका उपादान का कारण क्या है? जैसे घट आदि का उपादान कारण मृत्तिका है. घट आदि मीन्स पॉट्स, उसका कारण मिट्टी ही है. वैसे ही इन अज्ञान और संकल्प, अज्ञान इग्नोरेंस एंड संकल्प थॉट, इन दोनों का उपादान एक सूक्ष्म अविनाशी सत है. So the cause, the ultimate cause is that which is very subtle, सूक्ष्म, अविनाशी, सत. that is truth. वह विचार इस प्रकार का होता है. Now let's understand. We see the snake. उसका सत्य क्या है? That rope. The nature of the rope and the nature of that snake is quite different. The nature of this universe and the nature of that ultimate is quite different. It is not like mitti and pot. It is unlike that. You understand? There is no connection, there is no likeness between the water you see in the mirage and the sand of the desert. There is no connection. In a similar way, there is no connection. There is no likeliness, like mindedness, like thoughtness, like feelingness. It is beyond matter. It has got nothing to do with matter. It has got nothing to do with space. It's got nothing to do with time. Nothing to do with thought. It's got nothing to do with any relationship with anything, because if you can relate it to something, then you can say it is like this. We are approximating it like this. Just like the desert and the water. The sand and the water are totally unlike. It is in that nature, it is totally different, but it is the cause. Just as if there was no desert, there would be no water. In the same way, if it was not there, it would not, this universe would not be existing, would not be manifesting. It could not get manifested. We would not be there. Okay? I'm reading the 16th shloka now. मैं भी जो केवल एक सूक्ष्म ज्ञाता साक्षी सत और अविनाशी है, मैं भी, that ultimate मैं, I, that ultimate I. So finally he is defining who am I after negating. Okay, after making you understand that I am the basis. I, through my own ignorance, is creating this universe. This entire universe is moving around and doing various things are happening because of my thought. That my thought is in ignorance itself. Because that me is existing in this ignorance. But that ultimate I is beyond this ignorance. मैं भी, I, that ultimate I, जो केवल एक सूक्ष्म, subtle, ज्ञाता, knower, साक्षी, observer, सत और सत, truth, और अविनाशी is imperishable, है, वही हूँ. I am that which is ज्ञाता, the knower of everything, साक्षी, सत, अविनाशी. इसमें संदेह नहीं है. There is no doubt about this. वह विचार इस प्रकार का होता है. So when your mind becomes focused, it becomes ekagra, then you are able to think about this. You have that super consciousness which enables you to understand that you are not the body, you are not these senses. This entire creation has happened out of ignorance. I need to understand what is that which is underlying this entire existence. The thought which is operating this world, the cessation of this thought will release me from moving or participating or working through in this world, and that will lead me to understand who I am, which is that Gyata, knower, Sakshi, observer. सत ट्रूथ, ओके, एंड अविनाशी, इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है. I'm going to read this in English also because we have overstepped on our time. As I am also the one, the subtle, the knower, the witness, the ever existent, and the unchanging, so there is no doubt that I am that is Brahman. Such is this inquiry. The knower, the supreme knower who is ever present in all our perceptions as consciousness and who perceives even the ego. When I say I know that I exist, the I of the clause that I exist forms a part of the predicate, okay, which is that, and as such, it cannot be the same I which is the subject. So, I know that I exist. I is that ultimate I, and that I exist is that which is the limited I. Okay, the infinite and the object predicate I. This predicative I is the ego, the object. Okay, the subjective I is the supreme knower. Now, expansion of I am that. I, the ego, when stripped of all its limiting adjuncts, such as the body and the like, becomes one with that, the supreme ego, Brahman. In fact, it is always Brahman, its limitation being but the creation of ignorance. So that Brahman exists as unlimited, infinite, and it is limited or contained or not understood because of our ignorance.
Actually, it brings us back to that same question from where does this ignorance come?
Yeah.
Because if there's nothing other than Brahman, then how does ignorance even come?
Sorry, okay. You were saying
Yes, it's
The same question.
At the end of it all,
So he says, this agyan and this um, thoughts, the cause of that is me. उपादान कारण वह सूक्ष्म सत है.
so then Bhagwan has created us all
He-
through his Maya only. We are
Yeah. So how is it that we have this ignorance? Because of our senses, we are following all the objects and perceiving them to be the truth. And a mind, therefore, does not have the ability or does not have that capability to go back and see as to who I am. Now it is being asked to take a look at that. That is how the ignorance is coming. But the cause of that, the reason is that ultimate. How it is, we'll understand that also.
we take on these questions from this stage of life that yes, now I have come to know that these are the questions I should have asked. Maybe I did earlier, but
Yeah.
because again, without knowledge of the Shastra, these questions do not ordinarily come to our mind in this kind of intent.
Therefore, we say that through our prarabdha, we are able to get these questions or get our abilities to be ekagra, etc., at various stages of our lives. Each one. That we are here itself and we are able to understand this question itself is by itself a very big task. As you can, so many people, thousands of people here, but I don't think they are able to even understand whether this question can be asked or what is the type of question to be asked. Forget about what is the answer. But as soon as you ask this question and you say that I'm not the body, a lot of things start happening. Okay? And we saw that happen even when we read the chapter 2, the Gyan in chapter 2. Okay? And it's all logical. So, our ability of the mind to focus on that which is logical helps us to, because we are all people with logical minds. We are not people who can go into blind faith so easily. If I was sitting in this group of 30 odd people, 20 odd people, maybe two people might be having blind faith. But mostly people are with solid logic. That's how we've grown, right? So, how do you
So
use?
even if you say, I'm not the body, and then you say body is destructible, I think that's just a total different thought process.
It is, but it's logical.
It's logical.
I'm saying,
I'm not the body is logical.
yeah,
And if that is logical and the body is destructive,
and that is Avinashi.
Is logical,
Huh.
and then we are.
Then it is Avinashi.
Bhagwad mission is leading us in the right direction.
Absolutely. Vedanta is about logic. Okay? And therefore, we all tend to gravitate to Vedanta. But Vedanta is also very difficult because the logic can sometimes make our mind go into. So, we'll not pursue too much just now on this. We will stay on course in Gita going forward and look at all the various ways by which we will be making our thoughts purer, our mind ekagra, focused through dhyan, through bhakti, through understanding this entire manifestation and its lordliness, godliness. Okay, and then we'll come back to follow and understand this gyan even more. Okay,
I have a question which is totally unrelated to us trying to understand. That is that if this is the level of knowledge and understanding which was there hundreds of years ago and was documented, and it must have been duty given to a lot of people to take this knowledge and disseminate. How did that, become the way the religion is there, which is being practiced? There's this ocean of difference between
Yeah.
this and what is being practiced. But the purpose of the religion was to take this knowledge to people. I thought.
yeah. So we saw in chapter 5, beginning of chapter 5, he says, no, that I gave this gyan to Surya, to Ikshvaku, and so on and so forth. And over a period of time, people started sort of. So when they had this knowledge, it was given. People were living in that. They understood. And then there were some people who got distracted. They started pursuing their own desires. And slowly the disruption started happening.
There is this book which the title of which is always impressive. It's the one written by a guy called Gita. It's called The Decline and Fall of the
The Roman Empire, yes.
Normally think of a rise and fall of a
No,
time.
it's a decline and fall.
This title is The Decline
Decline and fall.
and it in itself it's a story. In itself it is a very telling, very choice sometimes.
Did you read it?
Quite a bit of it, not all of it. Parallel life,
my point is like, this so
parallel life is better.
so
Parallel
Yeah,
life
so
is
let's come back to the subject here. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So this is something which has its own decline, and we are therefore where we are, and we have an opportunity now to look at how do we reverse that for ourselves. Okay. And not only become
this is a tragedy.
But it isn't a part of the cycle of the Maya.
yeah. So again, the aspect is, as is understood later on also, is that there will be pralaya, destruction of the entire universe. Again, there will be a creation. Again, there will be the same thing happening. That initially it will be all pure and clear, and later on, people through the desire will only. So this cycle continues after that. What Bhagwan says is that once you have realized yourself, you will not come back into birth, even in future creations. Okay. So that is what is being said. And let's understand as to how and what needs to be done. Okay. So today we'll close with that, and we'll come back to Gita now and come back to this little book. Okay. Maybe a little later. Okay. Thank you.